On a more core basic level, in the United States, I think one of the reasons people watch interviews like this, watch other people's interviews, is because the military in this country is, I don't know if you'd say it's put on a pedestal, but it's viewed with great respect. Like, the military is part of society. It's honored and all that stuff. People look at it as a great asset historically. Is it the same way in Canada? Do people in Canada view the military in a similar sense, or is it not? Because in some countries, it's not prestigious at all. It's just a job. What's it like in Canada?
Um, by and large, it's whether you're looking at it from the American lens or Canadian lens, and you're looking at, like you're saying, put on a pedestal. The nature of it is paradoxical, right? It's done some good and it's done some bad, and it depends on who's benefiting, and that's the truth of the matter, right? It doesn't matter. I think that's one thing Americans do very well is like, okay, maybe it hasn't always been perfect, and maybe it hasn't always been righteous, and I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but there's definitely that debate. But an American will sit back, feet up, having a cold one, and be like, well, I appreciate the fact that I'm able to do this. And I know that lots of it has happened because of these labors that, again, may or may not be righteous. In Canada, there's much more of a optical delusion that that's not true. And yet we do benefit from that. We benefit from being allies with the U.S. There's a lot of safety throughout the years. Maybe now it's a little less relevant, but having a border with you guys, exchanging technology and ideas. And we've been a part of that non-righteous or righteous activity, and we benefit from it. And for some reason, there's like a deep denial by a lot of Canadians, Afghanistan, early 2000s, mid 2000s, late 2010, like those kind of years, it changed a bit, but people were just more on board with supporting the soldier, supporting the family, a little less supporting the cause. And one, I think that's just ignorance, as always, right? It's so hard to know what's being distilled to you as truth or fact or fiction or whatnot. And in some ways, we're a little bit even more, what is that called, barricaded or sensitized from these things through an attempt to potentially a little less bias in our systems. But I think in that it actually denies us more spectrum of that, where, for example, we'll take like two opposing news, we'll call it a left and a right news. And even though they're going to portray a story differently, at least if you had both portraying it heavily, you might be able to distill something that might look like the truth. Whereas we don't get that kind of stuff. So no, there isn't the same reverence, although November 11th is, kind of like our Memorial Day. It's your Memorial Day. It's celebrated every year. And, the men and women from World War I, World War II, Korea, Afghanistan are celebrated, their sacrifices. So no, it's definitely not the same. Like for you guys, it's intertwined with your economics, and it's like, it's such a big part of marketing, and it's everywhere, right? It's like, it became very popular in Hollywood, like it's definitely not like that. It's not in our psyche the same way. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know.
That's a fascinating breakdown. I mean, that's really interesting that you kind of say that they put these barricades up, and here, good or bad, those barricades don't really exist.